All right, we're live. Aiden, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Sonny. Thanks so much for the time today. Looking forward to the conversation. You and I were just talking off air here about our Canadian roots. So, I'm still reeling a little bit from the Canada Olympic loss, but aside from that, I'm good.
Cool, cool. So my formats, I like to just share a sentence or two about MOGL, the company, and then let's put that on ice and come back to it maybe in about 15 minutes or so. But yeah, I like to give people a bit of a teaser in terms of, where we're going. Yeah. Did you want to share a little bit about the company?
Yeah, absolutely. So MOGL is an NIL athlete influencer marketing platform. We leverage proprietary AI and a network of 30,000 athlete influencers to enable brands to reach Gen Z audiences and ultimately build awareness and adoption for their products and services. So we were founded in 2019. We've been in business for just over 6 years now, and we're really taking advantage of the brand new and monumental name, image, and likeness opportunity throughout the U.S. with collegiate athletics.
Just in case my mom's watching or something, what does NIL stand for?
Yeah, so NIL stands for name, image, and likeness. What it refers to is a landmark ruling in on July 1st of 2021, which permitted NCAA athletes throughout the US to monetize effectively their publicity rights and get paid for sponsorships, endorsements, influencer marketing campaigns, appearances, and everything else, that their platform and obviously their performance on and off the field warrants.
That is super interesting. Okay, so like I said, let's maybe start with your backstory. Like you were suggesting, we were talking earlier, and yeah, it seems like we're from similar parts of the world. So tell us a little bit about where you grew up and where it all began.
Yeah. So I didn't necessarily grow up there, but I was born in Calgary, Alberta, and moved a lot as a young kid. Lived in Toronto briefly, lived just outside of New York, but I was ultimately raised in New Jersey. Later in my life, I attended the University of Notre Dame, where I ultimately spent a lot of time with my co-founder, Brandon Wimbush, who was quarterback at the University of Notre Dame. And then following graduation, I worked initially in financial services. So started my career at Morgan Stanley. Then I worked in private equity at Lexington Partners. While I was there, we raised the largest secondary fund ever raised at $14.1 billion. Ultimately founded the idea for MOGL while at Lexington Partners and started to work on it, on the side, really preparing for name, image, and likeness rule changes and the ultimate permissibility that would let athletes to make money off of their publicity rights. But this was back in 2019. So I thought that we had much more time than we ultimately did. The initial kind of impetus for the idea was Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, put protocols in place that would enable California athletes the ability to start monetizing their NIL in 2023. So we knew that this was coming down the pipeline and that there was a massive opportunity for brands to leverage the influence of these athletes and really for a technology platform to democratize that access to these athletes and streamline the entire influencer marketing process between both parties. Ultimately, state regulations and other regulatory bodies, and ultimately the NCAA, sped up the regulatory framework here, and it went into effect on July 1st of 2021. Luckily, we had already built the platform, so we were first to market, launched on July 1st of 2021, already had a wait list of a few thousand athletes on the platform, and could go to market with the overall offering, and we had received funding as well. So yeah, it's been a wild ride. I never necessarily thought of myself as an entrepreneur, right? When I was in college, and the house that I was raised in is very traditional, like banking, law, potentially the medical field, right? And like at the time, University of Notre Dame was also not really supportive with regards to on-campus resources and founder resources and really the entire startup ecosystem in the way that it is today. So, I went the traditional route, worked in finance, but then I just had this idea and I started working on it and recognized that we were the only ones thinking about this and we were way ahead of the curve. So I kind of had to look myself in the mirror one day and say, if you're going to do this, you got to do it now. You got to quit your job, and it's time to really sink your teeth in here. So the rest is history. Life as a founder is never, a directly linear line, but it's been such a pleasure nonetheless. And I'm super excited about the progress that we've made.
That's yeah, quite a story. So you co-founded MOGL with Brandon, who was your classmate at Notre Dame, right? That's what you mentioned, and he was the starting quarterback. So I was just curious. So he I think he led the Irish to was it like a 10-3 record in 2017? How did that relationship go from college friendship to like let's build a company together? Because that's a big leap.
Yeah, without a doubt. And yeah, Brandon had a terrific career playing. He was, Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of New Jersey, 5-star recruit, major quarterback recruit for the Irish, and played great as a starter before he was ultimately, benched and had to, figure out where he wanted to play next. So Brandon and I have actually known each other since high school. We went to rival high schools in the state of New Jersey, all Catholic boys, all Catholic prep schools, and didn't really know each other on that great of a personal level until we had classes and other projects while at Notre Dame. Following graduation, hadn't spoke to him for a little bit of time. I was obviously working at Morgan Stanley and Lexington Partners. But when I came up with the idea for the company, I reached out to basically every athlete that I could think of in my network to try to understand what features, what functionality, and ultimately what questions they would have about a product like this and what they would need from an NCAA compliance and school compliance perspective built into that solution. And so I was having all these conversations with athletes from, the fencing team, the football team, across the board, right? The whole spectrum. And Brandon was really, really interested in it. Obviously, this is someone who was one of the largest names in college football while he was starting at Notre Dame and would have benefited tremendously from a platform like this and from name, image, likeness in general. And he really wanted to come on board. And I recognized that his feedback, input, platform, everything would be a tremendous asset for the company. And, it obviously ultimately was. So Brandon came on board in, call it January of 2020. And we, formally founded the business together, ultimately got it funded in early parts of 2021. That went on to building our initial team, building the MVP for the platform, hiring engineers, and really figuring out the go-to-market strategy.
And so you've also described this moment where you realized that 9-year-olds on TikTok were making millions of dollars while college athletes were, struggling, couldn't even afford a meal off campus. So I guess when did you go from like seeing this as some sort of injustice to like, I've got to fix this?
Yeah, really the impetus was, a news article that I saw probably on ESPN that California had made it permissible for college athletes to start monetizing in 2023. California is obviously the largest state as it relates to total NCAA athletes. And it has, major athletic institutions, right? You can think about UCLA, USC, but then all the way down to D2 and D3 as well. So we knew that this was really the first major, not the first, but a major domino to fall with regards to this legislation coming into effect. Shortly following that, Florida, Georgia, Texas, many other states rewrote their state legislature with varying start dates, but many of them were in 2021, in which this would become permissible because they recognized that it would be a pretty significant recruiting advantage for California schools if they were the only ones that were, able to pay their athletes. So that was really the first moment, right? That night, I remember staying up super late, writing this business plan, formalizing it, really kind of thinking about how this marketplace would work. Me personally at the time, I didn't know anything about social media. I frankly didn't like social media very much, and I'm not an influencer either. So I had to really learn on the job and figure out what it is that these brands are looking for from a performance and overall return on investment standpoint. And then as an influencer, or in this case, an athlete, how can we streamline this whole process for them? And then with the NCAA, there's obviously a lot of red tape and compliance necessities that needed to be automated in the solution as well.
So if someone's hearing about MOGL for the first time, is it true that you guys have something like 10,000 student athletes on the platform now?
We have 30,000. Yep.
You have 30,000. Insane. And so if someone's hearing about it for the first time, like what does the, I don't know, kind of like experience feel like? And then you guys also have brands, right, on the other side, like Toyota and Under Armour. So just in the simplest terms, like what does MOGL actually do that, let's say, wasn't possible, before?
Yeah. So for the athletes, it provides them a turnkey, streamlined, and compliant solution for them to quickly connect to paid endorsement and other NIL opportunities. So they create a profile. It's completely free for them to do so. They just download the app, authenticate all of their social media platforms, and then they're permitted to be able to source NIL deals with small to medium-sized businesses all the way up to, the Toyotas of the world, like you mentioned. So it's effectively a dashboard of available NIL opportunities that they can scroll through, look at the compensation, look at what's being asked from a deliverable standpoint, and then simply apply to those roles with one click. But the added benefit from an AI standpoint is we are also matching these athletes to brands and campaigns that they are a strong fit for based on their audience demographics, like their followers demographics, their skills and interests, their social performance, their geographic location, and a number of other parameters. So once athletes have created their profile, they receive push notifications anytime a new campaign has been posted that they are a strong fit for. On the other side with brands, so brands subscribe for access to the network, use of the technology, and our support if need be. So brands can easily chat with AI agents on the platform, create campaigns based on who they're trying to reach and what their product is. So, hey, I'm a health and wellness athleisure brand. I want to reach 18 to 24-year-old college students in the Southeast United States. They should be interested in athletics, fashion, apparel, and the outdoors. So they put that all into the campaign creator with their budget. And then a campaign gets created, it gets posted, and then within minutes, they're matched with applicants that then receive that push notification on the other side. So the whole benefit for the brands is we're enabling them to hyper target next gen audiences at scale and with precision by leveraging the authenticity that athlete generated content and athlete audiences bring to the table.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So the AI matching engine feels like it's at the core of what you're building. Can you give me an example of a match that the AI made that perhaps a human might not have been able to, and how it performed?
Absolutely. Yeah. So what the AI does more than anything else, right, is it rapidly accelerates the speed at which you can find athletes that fit your campaign, and then accelerates the speed at which deliverables, so say like a social media post, are ultimately fulfilled, because the AI agents in every step of the process are following up with the athletes, ensuring that the content matches the campaign brief, and really act as your influencer marketing manager for a brand. So one of the cool examples that we've got is what we did with Liquid IV. So like I mentioned previously, we are bringing scale to influencer marketing and NIL that doesn't exist anywhere else. And the AI is really helping us to do that. So with Liquid IV, over a 5-month period, we connected them with over 4,100 athletes, 4,115 athletes to be specific. And they returned 11,000 pieces of content, so social posts promoting Liquid IV. We also shipped the product to all of these athletes, which the AI certainly helped with as well. So it's bringing scale from like product seeding or from paid media optimization as well, which we can talk about if you're interested. But it's bringing scale to influencer marketing that doesn't necessarily exist elsewhere.
Wow, that's cool. So I read that you guys raised what is it, like $2.6 million to go after this $1 billion market. How are you thinking about scaling from here? Is it more athletes, more brands, more sports, or something else entirely?
Yeah. So yeah, we $2.6 million was our seed round of financing. It was led by Magarek Venture Partners, which is formerly part of Draper Triangle. They've been really great partners for us, and we really appreciate working with them. The short answer is, it's a marketplace, right? So all core components and stakeholders are important, right? We need to continue to build the athlete side of the house, our supply, if you will. But more than anything else, we need to make sure that we have enough brands and enough campaigns to fulfill that demand from the athletes. So what we do in order to do that is, a couple things. Like at a high level, we're obviously sourcing as many brands as possible into the marketplace, but we've also structured very strategic channel partnerships with large advertising agencies and other media networks that don't have an innovative or streamlined solution to reach Gen Z. So we've partnered across the audio and streaming space with groups like Odyssey and Blue Wire Podcasts and the Believe Podcast Network. We've partnered across the broader media space with groups like NBC Sports. We've partnered across the advertising world with groups like Dentsu, for example. And so now groups that have very traditional offerings, so say you're helping them run linear ads or TV commercials, or you're helping them advertise across radio stations or podcast networks. Now we're giving them a scaled way to also advertise across social media and target Gen Z and next gen audiences where they actually are and where they're consuming content.
Got it. Got it. Cool. So I guess just maybe help me land this plane. I really appreciate your time, by the way. So 5 years from now, let's say we're doing another podcast. What does a win look like? How do you envision athletes, brands, and fans coming together?
Yeah. So our goal here with this solution is to continue to automate, streamline, but more importantly, optimize results for athletes and brands. So with brands, they have a major mandate and a need to get their products and services and offerings in front of this younger generation of consumers. And where these people are consuming content and where they're ultimately making a lot of purchases is across social media. So we want to be able to both automate the influencer sourcing and deliver content to these brands. But more than anything else, we want to optimize the actual investment and the spend for these brands. If you give us $100,000, we want to be able to deliver you $200,000 or $300,000 in overall return on ad spend, or potentially sales, right? Which obviously goes into the return on ad spend calculation. So, where we see this going, right? This is a technology service that is applicable broad-based across the athletic ecosystem, but really across the entire influencer and creator economy. And, we recognize that college athletes, there's 450,000 of them that are active in the US today, but we recognize that this technology has application across, professional teams and leagues, both in the US and internationally, but then really across the entire influencer and creator ecosystem as well. And the AI technology and our proprietary tools are really, really helping to accelerate and optimize this for brands in a way that we haven't observed in the entire influencer and creator economy. So it'll be interesting to see where we're at in 5 years and if we've expanded beyond collegiate athletics, but there's a lot of meat on the bone with regards to NIL influencers. And the world is just starting to turn a corner with regards to recognizing their impact.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for everyone syncing with us here on the stream. And until next time.
Great. Thanks, Sonny. Appreciate the time.